Welcome to the Hermetic Correspondent. I'm here with my old podcasting buddy, Adam Summer.
Hello.
We go way back. I remember when it was Exploring Astrology was your first title for your first podcast, right?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was a guest on there a long time ago.
Probably like 2009 when I
Yeah,
started it,
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
Kelly told me about you, Kelly Lee Phipps,
Uh-huh.
the late great.
Yep. And I got into
And
podcasting through Kelly. So yeah, we were
yeah,
we were there in the beginning, at the beginning of time when the bird was landing on the sacred mound and squawking the world into existence. We were
but then
squawking the we were squawking the podcasting world into existence, man.
yeah, it kind of still feels like yesterday, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
I still feel
sometimes it
like I got
does.
used to it.
Yeah, sometimes it does. Sometimes it feels like forever too. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
No, absolutely.
but yeah, when we were hooked, I've only recently, you've been on Substack a while, right?
Yeah, I made the transition. It was a forced transition, actually. So I used to do a newsletter through MailChimp, and then in 2022, they booted me off of their platform
Because of Bitcoin?
for I think it was no, it was astrology was the reason. I think it was
MailChimp
probably
did?
like a combo. Yeah, yeah. And then my
I'm
partner, who's English, she got kicked off for doing tarot. But, like, we both do both. So, like, she teaches women how to self-custody and do Bitcoin stuff, and I, of course, talk about it too. So it probably was like a one-two punch combo, but they literally booted me off and I was a paid subscriber to it. And so that was, like, right around when Substack started. I had it. My only person I followed on there was Matt Taibbi at the time,
mm,
and, I was like, "I'll go for it. It's a
what
cooler
the hell?
platform."
Like, yeah. Wow.
And then
Okay.
just using it at first, I'm like, "Yeah, I like it. My words can live here for now," you know?
Right
And then
on.
it's nice to see that it's gained traction. Like, it's
Yeah.
definitely my place for getting information. Yeah.
I meant to do it for the longest time and just never got around to it. And then finally I got around to it and I saw you were on here. And so we exchanged recommendations and stuff. And I love, like, your rec for me is like a one line. If you like my take on Mercury cycles, you'll love Gary's.
Yeah, yeah.
So, um, so that
Okay.
brings me to a good question to introduce you to my audience and maybe to refresh some people that are newer for you. So how did you get into Mercury cycles, Adam?
What was the catalyst?
Or
So I'd
cycles
been
in
working with
general, because
Venus.
not all astrologers are into cycles, right?
That's true. I mean, it's probably from having conversations with the likes of you and Adam Gainsbourg, that is,
Mhm.
and a few others in the early years, because, like, my first learning, like, also my first 2 teachers didn't mention anything about synodic
Really?
cycles.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Not all astrologers are into
Yeah,
cycles, right? Yeah.
and so I honestly think it was Adam because I had gotten his book, the Venus book that he wrote, and then he
Yeah.
also came on my show in the early years to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so I became interested in the Venus cycles very quickly, and then for whatever the reason is, like, I just never applied what I was learning to Mercury, and then it was actually right around when you released Hermetic Go because it was, like, 2016, 2017
Okay.
that I started to pay attention to them a little
Uh-huh.
bit and immediately was, like, taken by it
Wow. Yeah.
because, like, well, I understood the synodic rhythm of stuff,
That's
and then once I
exactly the
started
way it
applying it
happened
to
for me
Mercury,
too. Yeah. I started with
it
Venus
was
and then
unbelievable.
yep, yep. In
Yeah,
fact,
and that's
I
kind of it, and then
yeah.
oh, sorry, but
No,
go
no,
on,
no, go
and then
ahead.
I'll finish.
Yeah, please continue. I cut
Okay,
you off first.
but then you wrote the book
No,
with,
no, no,
like,
no,
my
no, 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 please,
exclamation
you
point.
first.
Um, and yeah, like, I had already been working out ideas, Gary, like, practicing it. I don't know if I had taught a class on the Mercury synodic cycles yet, but I was working with it myself. And then you wrote the book. And after reading that book, it kinda, like, strengthened a lot of what I was observing, but also bringing up a lot of things that I wasn't even aware of, which was incredibly helpful.
Mm.
And then ever since then, honestly, it's like top 3 list of techniques that I work with.
I can tell. I can
Yeah.
tell. I mean, I really enjoyed your latest post. We'll get into that in a minute. Just for the people who may not be familiar with me, the other way around, I'll share my story briefly. I became an astrologer back in the 90s, and I learned how to cast charts by hand and all that stuff back then because I mean, there was internet, but I wasn't on it yet. And, so I learned about cycles through like Rujar and Ruperti. I would go to the used bookstore on Fridays if I had $10 extra and I'd buy astrology books. Yeah. And so,
Mhm.
Rujar, Ruperti, and then later Robert Blaschke. I
Mhm.
just loved that technical side. I was like I was a astro nerd, astro geek, whatever. I don't even know what the difference between nerds and geeks are, but I was one of them, maybe both. And, and then later, Michael Luton, so I spent about 10 years actually being an astrologer before I ever came out essentially into public and all that. And then when I did come out, Michael Luton invited me to New York City, and, he was asking me, "Well, what do you wanna talk about?" And my thing was Venus. I started out as the Goddess Astrology podcast, same as you. I was into Venus
Mhm.
first, and I was like, "I wanna talk about Venus." He's like, "No, no, no, we got a group of girls gonna be doing that one. You gotta do something else." And I was kind of on the spot, and I was like, and I knew the Mercury synodic cycle was kinda similar, just scale and like it's a smaller scale than Venus, but they're both
Mhm.
inferior planets, so similar, so I was like, "Alright, I'll do Mercury." And that turned out to be, like, a really big thing, actually. It seemed like a small thing at the time, but that guy, Michael Luton, did you ever meet Mikey? Did you ever
Nope.
know him? Wow, he's
Nope.
a serious trickster. So,
Oh, good. My
oh
type.
yeah, I got initiated into Mercury by a serious trickster, man. So,
I love it.
so that's my
So wait,
story.
he's no longer with us,
No,
Michael?
unfortunately, we lost him. I think last year. He
Oh,
went back
shit.
to the stars, man. Miss him already. There's a lot of people already. Um,
One of my favorite authors just died today,
really?
John Crowley. John
Wow,
Crowley just passed.
wow, yeah.
Yeah.
These
If you don't
notes.
know him, you need to. Hermetic stuff.
Really?
Wow.
Okay. I'll have to
Nice.
remember that to look into that. Yeah, these nodes I've noticed. Have you noticed like a lot of times when eclipses are happening, like they are really are doorways, like a lot of souls coming and going at those
Yeah.
times. That's what I see.
Dragon holes, Gary. That's
Dragon
what
Cave.
they
I
want me to
prefer
call them.
Dragon Cave, yeah. I was
The
born in
cave
the
works
Dragon's
too.
Cave, bro.
Were you?
Yeah. Yep, right
So
between
was your
the
sun close to the north node or the south node?
north.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. So yeah, man, I really enjoyed your recent post on the Mercury retrograde. Great post. Um,
Thank you.
I love the that you started out with the Orphic um tablets where they talk about, I'm a it's like the secret password in the afterlife to keep from being on the wheel of rebirth, essentially. You have to know to tell well, first, you have to not drink of the waters of oblivion. And by the way, you're like you've climbed a mountain or something and you're ravenously thirsty. And the first water you come to is the lethe, the waters of oblivion, forgetfulness, right? So if you've been through a hard time, right, you just want to like drink a beer and crash out and forget about your tough
Yeah,
day.
it's probably beer.
It's
There's sugar in that one.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's kind of like that, right? Yeah. Oh my God, dude, just get me drunk and let me forget about whatever the hell that was. That's oblivion. But the problem with that is if you forget, you don't get to keep the lessons, you know?
Yeah.
You don't get to keep the growth. So you want to go past that one you want to keep going, and there's a lake of memory, Nemesine. Am I saying that right? Nemesine?
Oh, it's a tough word. I say
Yeah.
mnemosyne, but
Mnemosyne? Yeah,
who
Mnemosyne.
knows?
Okay. Yeah, that sounds a little more Greek, I think. Um, and you want to, and to get there, you have to tell the guardians, I am a child of the earth and the starlit sky. And you added a piece on there that I had not seen before, but my race is of the stars. Is that right?
Mm, that's what the source was, the book I
Okay.
was looking at.
Interesting. I hadn't
Yeah.
seen that last part first. I'd seen the I am a child of the earth and the starlit sky before, right? So that's referencing like we have a mortal nature and an immortal nature, like we're both,
Mhm.
right? So that's the above and the below. Um, and then I love the tie-in that you did with, and I posted for my people, I posted restacks of little excerpts of both of these things that I'm talking about on my notes section on my time Substack timeline or whatever. So if people want to see
Nice,
the
thank you.
posts I'm referencing, and then you go into the the corpus hermeticum, what's called it's called some people call it the mixing bowl, so some people call it the
The
cup that
crater?
had, yeah, the crater. Um, and that was an interesting connection that I have not seen made before, but it really is the same choice. Because in this tractate, Hermes is telling his son Tat, telling him, "Hey, you know, God created the world just not through his physical being, but just through his spiritual being." And he lowered a cup of this spiritual beingness into the world, and he gave everybody access to logos. All humans have access to logos. That is like logic, like your rational mind, right? um but he didn't give everybody access to nous, divine mind. You have to go after that. That's something you have to aspire to. um And, maybe you wanna tell people a little bit more about your take on that. Um
Mm. Well, the reason why I chose just to narrow in on that to anchor the piece is just because the Mercury cycle
Yeah,
was to start in Cancer.
yeah.
Well, retrograde was in Cancer, but yeah, so at the beginning, I was just thinking of it all, looking at all the dates, feeling into it, and then also looking back. So one of the big things that has been kind of gifted to me throughout this cycle is a whole new unlock as far as just ability and tools are concerned to query all of my notes and information. Okay.
Mm,
So by this point in early June, I had already set up like a whole second brain off of everything I've ever written, everything I've ever taught, everything I've ever done with astrology, 20 years of notes, and then created what's called like an MCP protocol on top of it with an AI that accesses by vault.
mm,
And so part of this idea came from like just stuff I've jotted down over the years, right? Like I was like, okay, query my vault and bring up everything that mentions Mercury and Cancer. First step, right?
uh-huh.
And so all these notes come up, some from like 2010, 2015, just like all this smorgasbord. But then like narrowing it in, and like finding like all these interesting insights that I don't even remember having, but they're
Wow.
there. And then,
This is like the exact replica of that Orphic passage, like, "Don't forget the lessons that you've learned. Drink of the waters of
yeah,
memory." Wow. That's intense,
big
man.
memory. This entire cycle has been me kind of obsessing over what I've built and I'm continually building with Obsidian.
That's
And
remarkable, man. Yeah.
it truly is. I mean, it's so helpful for I mean, really the main use case at the moment for me is astrological research, but it can be used in many different ways.
It's really great
Um,
research tool. I use AI for research
yeah.
too, and I don't say it that much anymore because it kinda scares a lot of people for whatever reason,
It does.
but
There's a
yeah.
lot of mixed reviews. But again, what I'm talking about is it's accessing only my ideas,
Yeah,
you
so
know? Like,
I
it
if
can
you
jump out of the sandbox if I say it to go look on the
yeah,
web for
yeah, yeah,
something, but no, this
right.
is just my notes, okay?
Yeah, that is a
Which
different
also
deal.
includes our conversations, you know? So, like,
No
every
shit.
podcast that I've
Okay,
done is
nice.
now a full transcript,
Uh-huh.
markdown file, and so, like, everything you and I have ever talked about is
Wow,
part of what it has access to,
that's
including
interesting.
this. I'm gonna put this in there, right?
Okay, awesome.
So that's what I'm saying, and that's how it all began, and so all these ideas started coming around, and I, of course, like the mythopoetic, and I'm like, "Okay, that's an angle, I could work with that," and so the whole
Mhm,
idea is, like,
mhm.
perhaps the big idea of this Mercury cycle isn't even about an idea per se, it's more about our relationship to memory, and so I know what it is for me personally.
That's a really great
I know what
Cancer
it is in the
theme.
mundane.
Yeah.
For sure, and we can talk about the mundane too, because it's out of this world, but for you, has it been true since the pre-shadow? Like, what's the memory theme? You
Yeah,
any family stuff or what?
oh, definitely. I mean, you know, it's interesting because, I'm in the run up to publishing my second book, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm this far from the finish line." And I've been, I don't know if you race at all, but, like, it's dangerous. Getting close to the finish line is dangerous because, you can lose sight you can think because you see the finish line, you're there, and you can instead of driving through the finish, you can kinda let down at the end,
Mhm,
and so I've been trying to really not let that happen and just, like, keep driving, like, it's not finished till it's finished and keep going. Um, and so, yeah, in terms of memory, like, just I mean, this has been like my first book, as you mentioned, was in 2017. So this has been a very long journey, and it's kind of like that experience of, John Lennon said, "Life is what happens when you're busy making other plans." I mean, I started this book, right? In fact, this is the book that probably most people expected me to write this book as the first book. The second book,
why?
sorry,
Oh, but yeah,
because it's Mercury's
good.
this book is literally Mercury's synodic cycle, as in, like, the phases, morning star, evening star,
Okay,
like the typical
yep.
synodic cycle stuff that you're familiar with. The first book was not exactly that, it was more about the elements and,
Mhm,
and that book just kinda jumped out at me, and it felt like it needed to come first. Um, but anyway, yeah, like there's this process of being interrupted in my creative process by life and having to put the book down. And that was traumatic for me in a way because I've started several books and never finished them. Like you can lose the
ew.
thread. You have, so you know what that's
Well,
like.
I mean, you made it to the finish line. For me, once the race started, my shoes were tied together, so I never I never got that far.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's not
no, that's
easy, man. It is really not, and, like, when you have to put it down, there's a chance you don't at that point, like, there's a chance it never happens, and so, each time I had to put it down, it was really hard for me, and then when I would pick it back up, though, something would happen where in the process of writing, something would come out and I would go, "Wait a second. I literally could not have written that before I put this down." Like, something happened that actually augmented the process, and it was only after that happened 2 or even the 3rd time I finally went like, "Okay, wow, all along these seeming interruptions have been purposeful, apparently." And, so, that's kind of like the memory part for me is, like, remembering, um how long of a journey this has been and how, um, each time I had to let go, I actually gained something in the process of when I got it back, and, that's been really a profound because it literally deepened and broadened each time, and so,
Mm.
um, yeah, Yeah, that's been the memory part for me. Um,
Incredible. Can't wait to read it.
it really is, yeah, in fact, one of the things that happened during the guy that I got, John Michael Greer, I don't know if you know who he is, I'm sure you do,
I
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Um, uh, I usually say that to people who are astrologers because not a lot of astrologers, because he's really an occultist or he's also an
Mhm.
astrologer, but anyway,
You wrote a book on Pluto not being
yeah,
Pluto,
and
or
I
how
did he actually contacted me to do a blurb on that.
with Mark. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
no
Got it,
no,
got
no,
it.
no, Mark and I talked at length after Mark saw my blurb on that, he was like, "Hey, man, we need to talk."
Mhm.
Mark Jones, the fellow evolutionary astrologer, for those who don't know the Mark we're talking about, but, yeah, that was
Yeah.
great to reconnect with Mark too. He's such a great guy, man. I'm really looking forward to seeing him at UAC. Um,
I'll be
but
there.
anyway, yeah, I got, just keeping track of time here. I got JMG to do the forward, um, specifically because in one of these breaks, the Pluto book came up, and, that that blew my mind open in a way I was not prepared for, dude. It really forced me to rethink the whole astronomy debate around that, and in doing so, I realized, like, that basically the realization was that astronomy is ritual magic,
Mm,
and literally each time humanity has changed the primary frame of reference for the astronomy that we practice, it has resulted in a radical shift each time we change the above, our view of the astronomy, below, it has radically changed the below as well. Um, and that was something that would not have been possible had I not. It should have been, but it wasn't. Like something, the way that he presented that material really opened something up for me. So that was a trip. Um,
so does that mean you kind of subscribe to the idea that Pluto's gonna lose its luster in a Saturn cycle after its demotion?
the thing I subscribe to in the end, the way that he makes sense of it is that, in terms of like involution and evolution. In other words, as the hermetic concept of that we come from the stars and we come in to be born. And along the way, we take on the birth chart. And then when we leave, we disrobe essentially. Our souls release the material aspects of the planets. And so he was saying that maybe the discovery of Pluto was the nadir of that journey, and that we can now release and begin the path back towards source, and so we don't need to focus on, like, I didn't really focus on the fact of whether Pluto's a planet or not. Doesn't it I'm not invested
Yeah.
in that, so I have, I guess, a privilege regarding that. Um, but,
But
uh
even if it has a effect on us, right? Because doesn't he
yeah.
say that? Like 30 years after its demotion, it won't
Yeah,
really
and
have any influence?
the thing that I think about that is what for instance, what if so Pluto is really belongs to the Kuiper belt, right? And
Mhm.
there's a whole bunch of other stuff that are called Plutinos, but we don't put those in charts. So what if the reason why Pluto is so powerful is because it's channeling all the juice of the entire Kuiper belt, because it's the only thing
Hmm.
that we've given. Does that make sense at all? Yeah? I
Sure.
mean, I heard the
Yeah, you can.
you know? So maybe that's a way to understand what he's talking about. Like, we've given all of this power of the Kuiper belt to this one body, and, so it's actually more diffuse than that. So yeah, it's not about, but anyway, it's not about me subscribing to that or not. It was about me understanding the human journey of being astronomers, and how the changes in that journey, how the choices that we make in that journey have dramatically affected our experience. Actually, that was the big
Mhm.
point for me. The whether or not Pluto is a planet is like actually secondary for me. And this idea that maybe that it represents a nadir of the journey of like involution, and that we're kind of like at the bottom of the Kali Yuga, if you will, and we're now ready to go back on the ascent journey. That was kind of what I got from it. Um,
Okay.
so yeah. Um, but anyway, that's been the memory part for me is kind of, after, because I asked my publisher, like, what's my deadline if we're going to publish by UAC? UAC is in early September, and he's like, I need a full year because he knew this was going to be a big book. And so I had last year September, I had a deadline, and then as a writer, once you're done the initial draft and you're just sitting here twiddling your thumb, and somebody's got your baby, and you have
Mhm.
nothing to do, and you're like, oh. So, you know, there's been this process actually of after he got his part done, of going back to it and kind of remembering that whole process. So, yeah, you asked the question, but um, to get back to this idea of the Corpus Hermeticum Tractate 4 that you brought up, I thought it was really so I thought it was really interesting. So this idea that of the above and the below, right? Of like that it's in that Orphic section, right? We're a child of earth and the starlit sky. We're mortal and immortal. And we have reason, that is like human logic, human thinking, like human law, for instance. And then but we also have access to divine mind and spiritual concepts, and they're not the same. And in fact, in the Corpus Hermeticum section, it talks about like you can't serve two masters. You got to choose.
Mm.
You got to choose which one you're going to be. And as one, it talks literally about as one wanes, the other grows. And so I was like, wow, and I went back and reread that because of, you had mentioned it. And I was like, wow, it really struck me with regards to the whole cancel culture event that we've experienced in the astrology community lately of, Stephen Forrest. Um, I don't know, man. My gut reaction to that is just like, wow, they canceled grandpa. Like, I mean, I'm not a huge Stephen Forrest is an
Mhm.
incredible
Yeah.
writer. Like like uh, um, I'm not hugely attached to his work per se, other than just like a deep appreciation for his storytelling ability and his talent as a writer. Um, but I mean, he's been like is from the time I got into the astrology community, he's always been there. you know? And so it just feels like we're running grandpa out of town. It's like, really? We're gonna run grandpa out of town? Like, I've never been in a family that did that? So,
Mm.
it's a
So
little
how do you
surreal.
connect it to the were you talking about, like, the ebb and flow of logos and
Yeah, it's like
muse, or
that
just the
idea
Mercury
that you
cycle, or
yeah, that idea that so look, I'm not defending. I mean, even I was kinda shocked. For people who don't know, there was this whole, uproar about him saying the N word. And, that's a problem. And how that wasn't apparent that it was gonna be a problem, I don't know. And then there was a whole 'nother section about the KKK, and I was just like, "Wow, really? They went there?" Like, I was genuinely shocked that any of that actually happened, so let me just make that clear. Um, but, um but this idea of cancel culture is like, you said the bad word, you repeated harmful stories about the KKK, you have to go, you know? And I'm just like, wait a second. Like, this whole thing to me, like this whole idea, the whole cancel culture and it's comes out of like postmodernism, which has relationships with Marxism and this idea of like redistributing power in society. It just feels like to me that that's power and, like, literally, that's the below. That's like the human law. Like, that's like, you know, somebody's, particularly Marx's conception of justice, what justice is, but it's a human conception of justice. Um, and so this sort of fixation on that human law is, you can't have both. Like, you can't, there's not room for divine law if you're fixated on human law, you know? And that's kind of like, I guess that's where my disconnect from it was, because, like, wait a second, we're gonna cancel grandpa? Really? Like, I don't know, maybe, like, I just it just kind of blew my mind, you know?
Mm. Well, a couple of things I could say, because I did get some of the context. I didn't watch the clip, but I read about this context. But when he used the N-word, wasn't he, in a
Yeah,
way,
he didn't
talking
call
about how things
anyone.
were in the '80s?
Yeah,
Yeah, he was just talking about how things change, which is an interesting thing
yeah,
about, as you're calling, cancel culture, because the goalposts are always moving, and it's really hard to keep up, and especially when you have a big generational gap, like he's a boomer,
yeah.
and,
That's what I'm
like, he
saying.
just doesn't know, like,
That's
what
it. I
the
mean, it
current
was
thing. I mean,
incredibly ignorant. Yeah,
he should know, but he doesn't know. I mean, he knows
but
enough to, in a way, have his own virtues and signals within that whole community, and so you see, like eating like, they
exactly.
eat their own
Yeah.
because of ideals, and I think that's where it does relate to Mercury because
That idea that they eat
of
their own, that's what I'm talking about, like the lower.
or just ideas as well, because intention really matters, context matters, the whole thing matters. This is a man who clearly is not racist. I mean, I think I agree on that. At least I don't think he's a racist.
The
I've had
guy he was talking
conversations
to
with
agrees
Steven.
on that, so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Steven's a nice enough guy. I mean, I know him. I don't think he's a racist. I'll just say that. And
right.
it doesn't seem like so. But when you take the idea that within the current rule book, and he's not fully aware of it, then grandpa, as you're also calling it, is caught off guard. What did I say?
I
You
mean,
know, and then he's
yeah,
defending
he's
his position,
definitely
which is
grandpa to a lot of the kids that are canceling him. He'd be more like daddy to me, but,
yeah, yeah. But my
yeah,
final point too is I think it's not just cancellation culture. I think it's also like the frustration around him not owning up to it,
yeah.
which, like his apology
I
was a little
mean,
weak.
imagine that 1,000 people all are surrounding you saying, "Ah," you're gonna get defensive, so, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a mess, but yeah, it just it just reminded me of that idea of, like, you can't have 2 masters. Like, if you're gonna be focused on human law, then the more and more and more you focus on that, the less access there's gonna be to the divine mind. And that's explicit in that tractate. That's literally what they're talking about in that tractate, and it seemed to jump out at me, like, there's always been something off with that whole situation for me that I couldn't quite wrap my head around, and it finally occurred to me, like, wow, okay, like, I think maybe I understand why there's something that feels not right about it to me. Um,
Mm.
but we don't need to dwell on that. Um, the
No, no,
idea.
but I wanna relate it to the nodes moving into Leo
Okay.
Aquarius,
Yeah.
and I think that story arc also with eclipse season upon us and
Oh my
the
god,
birthday,
dude, are you kidding me? The South Node goes across
it
Regulus, enters Leo, and it's drama season? Hello? I mean, yeah, that's
yeah,
pretty obviously a nodal story.
it makes a lot of sense within the nodal context, this
Yeah.
tale, and there's a few of them. We'll probably see one with the Red King because that's his ascendant,
A
right?
lot of
There'll
people are
probably be a
saying that,
nice,
and
big,
it's
juicy one.
also JD Vance's, and Netanyahu has stuff there, so, ooh, like, yeah, as far as the mundane, there's a lot of stuff that could be
Yeah,
possibly coming down the pipe, man. Um,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well, I don't envy you going to UAC, where this conversation is gonna be at the center of every conversation you guys have.
geez. Yeah, I'd much rather have it with you. But we'll see.
Yeah,
But if you get
yeah.
back to that idea of the nodes, one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation with you on this day and getting back to the idea of the tractate is like you have to leave behind the below to attain the above. Like that's the
Mm,
main thing I want to get out of that tractate. Is that you can't serve both masters. You have to let go of some of that below to get to the above, to get to the divine mind. And and that's what Mercury is doing right now, actually. That as Mercury ingressed Leo, it also crossed the ecliptic plane at
nice.
its
Yeah.
north node, or what's in the Picatrix they call it a Guzar. It's like a Latinized version of Jauza here, which there's Al Batan, the unmanifest, and there's Al Zahir, which is the manifest. So Mercury crossing the ecliptic is literally Mercury crossing the plane of the Earth,
Mhm.
the Earth, right? And so there's this manifestation of Mercury that happens, and so Mercury is moving literally from the below into the above. And so I wanted to talk about that.
Love it.
Um, and and so and what's really interesting, what happens next is that as Mercury gets to that 3 to 4 degree range, Mercury's then, along with Venus, because they're now in a sextile, right? Venus just recently ingressed Libra. Um, those two personal planets are now going to be interacting with this big transpersonal alignment that everybody's been talking about, the Barbo
Mhm.
basket, which is right at 4 degrees of the Aquarius, Pluto and Aquarius, and then Neptune and Aries, and Uranus and Gemini, right? And then Jupiter was activating it in Leo. Now Mercury's activating it in Leo and Venus in Libra. That leaves only 1 point for Sag before we have like a full blown grand sextile Star of David kind of situation. So,
Wow.
yeah. So basically, dial up for Sag for an ascendant, and you've got the whole thing going on at that point. So, yeah, I wanted to check in with you and see what you think about this barbell basket thing. I think you did write about it a little bit.
I
Um,
did. I did. Ooh, where to start? I mean, for one, I think large aspect patterns like this, especially those that get hyped in such a way, um, I think a lot of people's big ideas around it are a front. Honestly, it's too big of an idea to fully wrap words around and truly understand just because there's so many big cycles
it's a meta
churning
narrative.
within
By
it.
definition, it's a meta
It's a
narrative.
meta narrative. Barbeau's ideas are curious, and it definitely inverses the script about our current moment because so many people are just fully subscribed to the eschaton and the doom that's
Yeah,
coming,
dude.
that, like,
Yeah.
they can't see a positive end result to
That's
this
what's
whole
really
narrative.
ironic about it to me is that he was,
Yeah.
but Barbeau's ideas are pretty simple, man. And it actually fits with like, I did a post on this. My last post was about this. So it's pretty fresh in my mind, but it reminds me a lot of Empedocles. I did a huge astrohistoriographical essay, 2 parts about the Venus Mars cycle. And I got into
Okay.
Empedocles and that. And Empedocles said the universe is kind of breathing in and out, and be, like the disparate forces becoming one, and then the one being spread apart into disparate forces. So there's like this coming together through love, and there's this spreading apart through strife, and that's like how the universe is. And it just reminded me because Barbeau is saying when the outer planets come together and are concentrated in roughly 100 degree stretch or whatever, there's like a crisis, and then as they begin to spread out like they are now, there's like a renaissance or a rebirth or splendid relaunch or whatever he said. So it's like, I mean, it kind of makes sense on its face what Barbeau is saying, but it does absolutely fly in the face of the current Um, I wouldn't say it's the zeitgeist because I don't know that it is the zeitgeist, but the current narrative for sure is like a lot of
Mhm.
doom and gloom. There's a lot of pessimism and I guess it depends on who you're talking to, of course, like what narrative you're gonna get, but yeah, no, I get what you're saying, like, it's a pretty hard pill for people to swallow, and so a lot of astrologers have been like, "Yeah, you maybe not," you know? Um, it is definitely a meta narrative by definition, and, the whole postmodern thing is about breaking apart meta narratives. Okay, breaking apart is absolutely the first step in alchemy. Like, you gotta break something down to expose the shitty, dirty, grimy parts of it that you want, but the whole idea of breaking it down is so you can purify it and put it back together. Like, if we're just stuck in this cycle of breakdown, we goes nowhere. It's nihilism. Makes no sense, so,
Mm.
um the putting back together is also a meta narrative. Like that's sort of what's called meta. Uh, you have modernism, postmodernism, and metamodernism. Metamodernism is like, okay, yeah, we know that grand narratives are dangerous because they get construed for the truth, but we still need stories. We need narratives to keep going, and so yeah, breaking it apart. Um, maybe it isn't exact like maybe Barbeau isn't like some kind of prophet necessarily, although he did predict COVID.
Mhm.
Which is pretty damn good. Maybe he's not maybe, this isn't the truth, but maybe it's pointing at something worth looking at anyway, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Strauss and Howe predicted COVID too, the fourth
yeah.
turning guys.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing to me because it's basically a
Mhm.
Uranus cycle, right? I mean, that's pretty,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. It's like the Uranus cycle in 4 quarters, essentially, you know?
I love it. It's a
Yeah,
great model, the
yeah,
generational one, and really seeing it on full display, it gives a lens to our moment, and my god, the Stephen story is totally a perfect part of it, because, like, the whole engine of the 4 generations within the saculum that they talk about is mainly driven between the prophet, i.e., the boomers, and the hero, i.e., the millennial generations, the polarity between the two. And so in synastry, that's Uranus oppositions that exist between the two, right? Sometimes it's parents and their children, but it's not perfect like that either. But it's mainly the ideology and the worldview of these two
interesting.
generations
Yeah,
that are at odds with each other.
yeah.
And so, you see this dynamic. I mean, I see the bumper sticker around mainly when I'm in the States. I don't think I've seen it here in the UK, but it's the "Okay, boomer"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
meme,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And I could guarantee you a millennial created it, you know? And so there's just this tension that exists at the moment between the 2, and you can, of course, think about it in
Yeah.
in in Uranian terms there, but, uh yeah, I mean, look, I can understand, and I just talked to Ray Merriman on the podcast, and he's very optimistic about Barbeau's ideas and
Yeah, I
what
mean,
have you, and, like, I can see that.
I read Ray's recent newsletter. He does a free newsletter every week, right? And, I usually read
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
And, you mean he usually mentions I usually, like, go right away and, like, "Okay, what's he saying about Bitcoin?" But that's me.
Mhm.
But
Nothing nothing nice
I
these
try
days.
I do if he's saying some I look at what the other stuff and if it's, depending, but he did one where he talked about the Barbeau, basket recently, like, at the end of July, and he was talking about this idea that, hey, maybe if it's a relaunch, then of course it's not like this culmination of this positivity because a relaunch is by definition a new beginning. So
Yeah,
yeah, if it appears contradictory, it's not because you don't necessarily see the culmination of something at the beginning, right? And he went on to talk about this idea that maybe it's not until Saturn moves past this whole crew And when Saturn is in a opening or waxing relationship to all three outer planets, he showed how that's been a period of like real positivity. And I even took it back one step further from the examples he was giving. You talk about a splendid relaunch of civilization. I mean, post World War, right? Like literally Marshall Plan, rebuilding Europe, Japan. Um, there was a huge relaunch of, and that was like a golden age of economic prosperity. And it came out of one of these double sextiles and a trine between the three outer planets. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think it's far fetched, actually. But I agree with Ray. Like, it's a seed. It's not necessarily a flower. Like, if you can't smell the roses right now, there's a reason because you just planted the seed. Like, you know, there's
Mhm.
so yeah. But no, I love that you and Ray are digging each other. I saw that he mentioned you a couple times. I was like, wow, I had no, I wouldn't have thought that that connection would happen. But how
Me
did that
neither,
happen, by the way?
actually.
Yeah.
Did I make the first move or him? I don't know, but he surprised me, by the way, of reading my stuff and still does to this day. I mean, like,
Nice.
he loves
Yeah.
reading my stuff, which is just, like, so flattering,
He
right?
surprised me once by that
Um,
too. Yeah, he mentioned my name at a conference, and I was like, "What? What? He's been paying attention? Wow!"
yeah, man.
Yeah, he's
He
good like
likes
that,
us.
dude. Yeah,
I, um I don't know, but yeah, the fact that he quoted me a few times was really amazing,
yeah. I
and,
was
I
like,
mean, I'm a
"Wow, that's
huge
very cool."
supporter.
Mhm, mhm. Right
Yeah,
on.
because, like, as you know, like, I didn't start out as a financial astrologer, and I still don't consider myself a financial astrologer, even though for the past 8 years, I've been using financial astrology and learning everything I can about it
Right.
nonstop. So, like,
Most
I could be.
Bitcoiners
I could.
become, yeah. That's the thing about the being, orange pilled, man. I mean, it kind of comes along with a whole worldview shift around finances, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's led me a lot of places, and it's elegant. Like, I the reason why I like it most is because before and this all started in funny enough with the Mercury cycle, Gary, because it
Okay.
was
Okay.
2017-ish
Mercury is god of
when
what? Coins.
yeah,
And
yeah,
Mercury in the
and it's
Bitcoin
when
chart, by the way, is lit, bro. Mercury. That's when I
on the
became a
North Node.
convert to. When I saw the Genesis chart, and I was like, okay, let's look at Mercury in the Genesis chart. I was like, okay,
Whoop, whoop.
okay, okay. Holy shit! Because Mercury is literally at one of these Guzahar moments, crossing the freaking
Yeah.
in the Bitcoin chart, and I was like, whoa, dude.
What's
Okay,
gonna
all
happen
right.
when Pluto gets there?
I- It's there, dude.
I know, I know, I
Yeah,
know.
I was like, "Holy shit, okay, I'm in." Like if Mercury is in on this, I'm in on it. That's when I decided, okay, I don't know what the heck this is. I almost said the F word there. Y'all have to
It's
forgive me
alright,
if I let the
as
F
long as
bomb
it's not the
slip.
N word.
That one you can be pretty sure I'll avoid. The F one, not so
Yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Like, with that chart, there's more I could say there too, but, Gondar I wanna know this term more, Gary, about it crossing the North Node because, of course, like,
Guzahar.
with the Genesis chart, Gu-Zahar, I
Guzahar, yeah.
remember it.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
Latinized form of the Arabic term.
okay.
Those cats were like the Picatrix is a compendium of like Greek and Arabic and all kinds of ideas, and Haranian, which is not Arabic actually. They're like their own sect or whatever. Um, but yeah, no, dude. You know how I found that? I was speed reading the Picatrix because I had in my head this thing that I had read somewhere about the sun, the moon always being received by the sun. And I was like, where did I read that? So I was literally reading through the Picatrix line by line, like speed reading. And I was like, wait a second. Did they just talk about planetary nodes in the freaking Picatrix? They did. It's
Oh,
like, I
wow.
thought I saw a putty tat. I did. I did.
I wonder if Mark picked that up before he wrote the Planetary Nodes book. I don't remember
I don't
reading about the
know,
cricket
man. I
chips
mean,
in that.
I was like blown away, but they clearly are referencing. I mean, John Michael Greer did the translation for that, and I'm assuming he's the one that picked it up. Although it could have been
Mm.
Warnock picking up on it. One of those guys picked up that yeah, they're talking about the nodes here. Um,
Wow.
yeah, in like 900 whatever. They were digging on the planetary nodes, man. And and another thing I've noticed, dude, is that a lot of like in the last bull run, several of the big upsurges were at times um when Mercury crossed one of these Guzahars and phew, off it went. And I was like, ah,
Really?
yeah, because
Here we go. It's
here's an
coiled
interesting
right
sto
now.
yeah, 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 dude. Here's an interesting story for you. So I got pulled in 2021, like, I don't know, man. The original discourse around it seems so simple-minded to me. I was like, "No way." Like, Uranus is in Taurus, so Bitcoin's gonna take off, and I was like, "Astrology is never that simple." Like, no. And I just kind of ignored it. And then one of my clients was, like, getting into crypto because he wanted to fund this nonprofit that he was involved with, and I was like, all right, it's for a client and it's for a good cause. I'll wrap my head around this. Let me just get into like start. And that's when I looked at the chart. I saw the Mercury and I was like, my God. And it just so happened this was like in the trough in the 21 bull run where there
Oh,
was like
yes,
that
yes.
trough in the summer.
Yeah,
And
between the double
so
top, that was
between
scary.
the double top and he was asking me like, "When's a good day?" Dude, I've got it in print. It's in my report. I nailed that bottom to within 1 day using these Mercury Guzhars. Mercury crossed the North Node in Cancer, and I was like, and it was sextile Uranus. I was like, "Okay, this is the day to buy cryptocurrency." And I was within 1 day of the exact bottom. And the
So
day
you're a financial astrologer too now.
I was like, "What? How could I?" I was like, the very first time I ever fooled with like, talk about beginner's luck, man. Whoa. And I
Yeah.
mean, it just took off like a
Mm,
rocket from there. I was like,
that's
"Man,
how it does.
yeah." So after that, of course, I started paying attention to these. And yeah, a lot of times, not every time. And I'm just gonna tell you, I don't know why yet. They don't all always correlate to upward movements, but they often do. Which that's
Volatility.
astrology. Like you never get a transit that's 100% every time it comes around, it's this. That's why we don't have we don't have frequentist statistical like, you know, correlation, what do they call it? Whatever the terminology is, Michelle Gokeland came kind of close, but of course they changed the goalposts on
Oh, right.
correlation equals or whatever. Um, but but yeah, we're never going to get that, I don't think. By the way, but that's a whole nother tangent. Um, but yeah, I feel like this movement of Mercury into Leo and crossing the North Node and entering into this basket, I feel like that it'll be interesting to see like if anything, because once you're aware of something, it's possible then you can see things that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. So with that in mind, like pay attention, like maybe there's signals for something that backs up the positive Barbo, interpretation. Maybe you'll see like a little glimpse of light at the end of the tunnel or something. It'll be interesting to see what happens here in a couple days. Um, Sometimes what I did with these things is I found, I actually did a talisman for when Jupiter interacted with this whole thing, and I found a coin it's a Liberty. It's a Liberty coin she's holding a torch in one hand, so like Jupiter in Leo, like holding a torch, and in the other hand, she has a, olive leaf, which is olive branch, which is like peace, and so
Mm,
the moon was in Libra, so there's the olive branch, and Jupiter's holding a torch, and I was like, "That's pretty symbolic, man." So I used that symbol of that, like, that St. Gaudens famous double eagle, coin that Teddy Roosevelt commissioned, and I used that as
okay.
like a symbol to capture that energy, and, we'll see. I don't maybe I'm, still a naive, whatever, maybe I need to be black pilled, man. I don't know, but I gave it a shot.
No, no. Don't take the black pill.
Don't do it. Okay. Okay.
It's probably the worst pill. I think it's the worst pill.
Yeah, I never could swallow the black pill, man. I don't know why. I mean, there's plenty of reasons.
Because when you're around people that have, you feel like shit. That's a good reason.
Pretty much, it's like, dude, yeah, no, and especially like that was my old man. Like he was like always like, um it's like the world's out to get me, or my life is, what do they say? F FML is the, like, yeah, fuck my life, It's there, I did it. There's the
Oh,
F
yeah.
word. That
Yeah.
and I was just like, dude, you keep doing the same stupid shit. Like, of course your life's a mess, you know? I mean, I even as a kid, I could see that, and I was like, yeah, I don't buy that negativity. Like, I don't buy it because I can see how you're creating it, bro. Like, so yeah, I guess I was blessed in that way because I had that early on. I was like, nah, I ain't buying it, bro.
Sun on the North Node. You gotta
Yeah.
find a different solar calorie than your father.
Oh my goodness, man. Well, this has been fun, dude. I know that it's late over there where you're at, and we're closing in on the hour mark. So,
Yeah, but did you plan, if I can get words out, to do Q&A at all or no?
um, Q&A. Yeah, we can do a little Q&A if you want.
Or just, like, from some people live? And if
Right
so,
on.
can I take a restroom break real quick?
Please do. Yeah, and in the meantime, I'll look through the comments here and see if there's anything that we wanna grab.
Yeah, we
How's
could
that
take a
sound?
couple just to feel like we've engaged with people and they didn't just
Right
watch
on.
us
Yeah,
talk to each other for an hour.
there's been a lot of that actually, so let's do that. Yeah, good idea.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Alright.
Where's the eat?
Alright, so if y'all have questions, feel free to go ahead and enter those in. Particularly if they're pertinent to this discussion, we'll probably go with those first, and then if there's stuff outside of that, we can maybe take a swing at it. Okay. All right. So, okay. So there's a question about Saros series, which is not entirely pertinent to this discussion, but that is a good question. Um, Disintegration. Interesting. Anita says that Jung says the archetype of the modern age. Well, that disintegration is the first step in alchemy. Like you have to break it apart, like solve et coagula. So yes, disintegration, but positive disintegration means you break it apart, you purify it, and then you put it back together. You can't just go around breaking everything. You'll have nothing but a mess in the end. So that's a thing that I don't think the postmodern has gotten around to. Like okay, like, sure, break apart, but we gotta put back together. Can you see the questions too on there, bro?
I can see some comments, yeah.
Okay. So let me know if anything
Would
jumps
you
out at you. We had a question about the Saros series. We had an
Oh, sure.
observation about Jung saying that the archetype of the modern age is disintegration, which is interesting. Um, I don't know what jumps out at you. There's Nancy, Yaza here. She's the one that taught me that. Nancy, I'm so glad you're here. That's awesome. Ya Zahir and
Nice.
Ya Batin. That's the manifest and the unmanifest. And that's the nodes, dude. They got the names for the nodes from that, right?
Love it.
Isn't that incredible? Thank you, Nancy. I love
I
when
mean,
my
speaking of nodes, I
readers
mean, just
teach me stuff, man.
Oh, yeah, always, always, always. And with the nodes, I think it actually probably was a client of mine initially that told me to read Brady's book, talking about the Saros in the early days.
Mm,
But it's fascinating. I mean, it's an underexplored part of eclipses. Just to, like,
yeah.
say a few words about this, and, I mean, it's such a big idea that it's quite the study to get in there and become intimate with all the different Saros series because there's a lot of them that are alive at any given time. They last over 1,000 years. But the whole idea that she proposes, which I've definitely gleaned a good bit from, and I think that this eclipse
You
works
talking
in a
about
lot of
Brady
ways with
now?
it. Yeah, so it's basically
Bernadette
studying the
Brady.
first chart
Yeah,
of the eclipse series, and so with this one, she calls 10 South. It's what NASA calls Saros 126.
right.
And what she means by south, and it's helpful, more helpful, in my opinion, than the other labeling of the Saros, is that it says if it's south or north, that it started close to the South Pole
Yeah,
and
North Node
near the South
series by
Rim.
definition begin at the South Pole. They wrap around the Earth twice like a Gnostic serpent, and they
Yeah,
finish at the north because they're moving north. So they start at the south.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And that
And
picture,
you
that
study that origin
image,
chart.
yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, what you do is you find the date of the first eclipse in the series. There's 70 some eclipses over like 1,000 years, right? So there's this
Mhm,
family of dragons. There's this dynasty of dragons, essentially. And you're looking for the first member of that dynasty. And then what I like to do is actually compare that chart of the first member of the dragon dynasty to the current one and see like, okay, what's similar? Because
sure.
that's probably what's going to stand out,
Mhm,
you know?
yep.
That's pretty much what she
It's a
did too,
good
if I
study.
remember right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Bernadette
she says a
Brady.
few words. I mean, she's or sorry, but she was, like, really into midpoint or is. So, like, a
Yeah.
lot of the commentary on them is about midpoints, which I
Yep.
personally don't use. And so I
Yeah.
just cast the chart and look at it. And so, like, there's
Yeah.
no mention, for example, in her book about the Pluto-Saturn conjunction in 11 Saturn or 1179. March of 1179 is
Oh,
when
wow.
the
Okay.
first of the series was,
Whoa.
which is amazing because, I mean, let's just think about this for a second. When was the last Pluto-Saturn conjunction? Oh, and by the way, it was square to that eclipse. So the eclipse was in late Pisces. The Pluto-Saturn conjunction was in late Gemini. So it's a
Yeah.
tight square to the first eclipse.
That's
All
worth a
right. So, like,
mention.
what was
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so the
Yeah.
last
Yeah.
time Pluto and Saturn were together was COVID, right? Like,
Right
can't
before
forget
COVID.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, we don't have to
Which,
travel that far in our minds
yeah.
just to think about how
Yeah.
they show up in a mundane capacity, right?
And like,
And the
we're
fact that it's
still, yeah, we're still grappling with that. I mean, the whole Fauci thing was just in the news, you know.
yeah, people don't wanna pay attention to it.
I mean,
He's still a hero somehow.
dude, basically the thing that stood out like a sore thumb to me was 2 days before he came in the Oval Office and told us all, "Oh, yeah, it absolutely was, from this market or whatever, and the lab leak is bullshit." 2 days before that, there was a 10-2 dominance the other way, saying, "No, no, no, this probably didn't come from some like, it might have like, we definitely need to pay attention to this, lab leak hypothesis." 10 out of 12 people were saying, "We need to pay attention to that." 2 days later, he said, "Nope, we're not that's racist, we're not gonna do it." That's not science,
Mm.
man. That's not science. I know I'm not a scientist, but I know that's not science, you know?
Well, the
And so
Inquisitors didn't have science either, Gary, which is interesting about connecting the dots between the 2 times because, like, what my brain taught me about this one, I wrote about it in my piece today. Not my brain, my second brain with all my notes and stuff. So my partner's father wrote a bunch of books on, just kind of the untold history of Christianity. The one he's known for is Holy Blood, Holy Grail, but he did write a book on the Inquisition, and I read it last year. And so I had all these notes from the Inquisition, right? Just like floating around. Just I would probably never have gone back to them, right? But because they're all now organized and connected and I can query them, it made the connection for me. It's like, it's interesting that the same week in March of 1179 was when the Catholic Church had this, what did they call it? It was like the Third Lateran Council or something like this, but they basically labeled all Cathars and affiliated groups heretics, and no one
Mhm.
could house them, no one could feed them, no one could do anything, and then, the Inquisition targeting them
Mm.
began, right?
Wow.
So, but just like taking out the details, just like understanding where all power, Pluto, is concentrated in the 12th century is within that church, right? So
Catholic
Pluto,
Church
Saturn.
was the Pope was the most powerful man in the world, you know?
Yeah.
He
And then the
essentially chose
Inquisition,
he was
maybe
more
Scott.
powerful than the emperor because they chose the emperor at that point in time,
That's right.
you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So, here we have it, an Inquisition. I was already writing the piece, someone saying something about Stephen. I really don't want to comment on it. Like, I don't like participating
yeah,
too
we
much
don't
with
need to
people's
go any
stuff.
further into that, I think, but the idea that that energy is around is obvious.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
the Leo Aquarius axis, I also use the Emperor Wears No Clothes fairy tale in my last piece with the nodes. And I think there's a lot of lessons in that story around what's going on here as well.
Mhm.
Um, So that's all I'll say. But like Saros is worth your attention, I think is what I would want to convey to all of you. Like it's complicated, it's a little confusing at first. Get Brady's book. I always write about it. I always teach about it in my classes. Like I try to keep it alive,
Yeah, I
and keep
mean,
studying myself.
if you just
But
look at the current eclipse entry in Wikipedia, like just, Google, August solar eclipse August 2026, right? And then click on the Wikipedia entry. Scroll down, it'll tell you Saros, what'd you say, 126, I think?
I think this one's 126 for the
One
solar, and
right? And
then
then if you
it's
click
10
on that,
south.
and it'll have a link. If you click on that, it'll open up and it'll show you a list of eclipses that belong to that Saros, and you just look for the very first one, and that's the chart for the Saros. That's the chart for the dragon tribe, if you will, the lineage of dragons to which this dragon belongs, essentially. Um, and so it's kind of like a dynasty chart if you think about it in terms of like, you know, um, dynastic, you know, human dynastic, stuff, Um, and yeah, those are really, really, really worth a look. Almost always I try to have a look at them. I don't know that I've really had time to. I've been, gearing up for a book launch. So but yeah, no, it's a great question and um yeah, it's definitely worth a look. I'm really glad that people are paying attention to that and then asking about it and um yeah, just check out that chart for that first conjunction and I mean Saturn conjunct Pluto as if we didn't have enough of that. Like really? But I mean
It's
I mean
fascinating.
my take on COVID is like I actually had to, you know, I felt betrayed in a lot of ways because, the like, the all the coercion that went along with, you must take the vax and, and all that. And, but now I realize like, there's studies that you probably aware of this, but they've done psychological studies where, basically 75 to 80% of people, when confronted with the experiments were that they would put an actor in a room and they would give you something like obvious, like, I don't know, they would show you a card with X on it, right? Or something. And then if they put an actor in the room that said, no, that was, or just said, what did you see? And they said, yeah, that was Y, right? And you're going, well, and then somebody else says, yeah, I saw Y. And then like 75 to 80% of people, when they see, like group, because we're apes. We were meant to survive in a group environment. We will betray our own eyes and ears and say, "Yep, yep, it's why." 80%, dude. And I was like, that's pretty much the story of COVID, you know?
It's a story,
It
the emperor has no clothes.
it's the
It's
story.
wow.
It's the story. Yeah, like, that's
Yeah.
people just so, "Okay, social contagion, whatever you want. Okay, yeah, it's why." And if you're, but there's a certain percentage that will always be wired the other way, and they're like, "Bullshit, it's freaking X, man." Like, you know? And it sucks to be that one, but sometimes it's those ones that, catalyze something, like, I don't know, man. I think the fact that it's biological, and I don't think, I mean, Jung's ideas about getting back to, somebody had an observation about Jung's saying the archetype of the modern age was disintegration. That's interesting. I would have to look a lot closer at that, but the part of Jung's theories that came up for me is, like, Jung was very clear that our lowest nature was in the group mob herd mentality. Like, that was the lowest part of humanity, and that it was the individual, it was in the individual nature of humanity that the highest part of humanity was located. I mean, he was very clear about that. And so this idea that yes, it's hardwired into humanity to be that way, of like, yep, nope, nope, it's why. And yet, the fact that there's that 20%, that it's like there's always gonna be this, like, "Wait, are you gonna do it again? No, oh, hey, let's try that experiment. You're gonna do it again? You're gonna do it again?" Like, it's always gonna keep coming up until we evolve past it. It's like this sort of hardwired limit in our being, but it's a hardwired limit in our biological being. It's not hardwired into, it's kind of like that thing that we were talking about in the Hermetic Tractate, number 4. Yeah, there's like logos and then there's nous. And so there's like this lower mind, and that's like the one, where we betray ourselves. And then there's higher mind, and I think that, Jung was also very clear that we needed to evolve as a species, and that it involved making the unconscious conscious, and so that unconscious tendency to go, "Yep, yep, yep, no, I don't see what I thought, I don't see that. I see what everybody tells me I'm supposed to see, that's what I see." That unconscious tendency, we have to become conscious of it and know that we're doing it when we're doing it, and stop it as a species. And I mean, what's it going to take, man? I have no idea. Like, if COVID didn't do it, I don't know.
Did for a lot of people though, Gary. I
Yeah.
think there's it's a heavy percentage of people that, yeah, they would change forever by it. Like, maybe even, like, a whole generation almost.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see
So,
what the long term, I hope I'm around long enough to study that long term.
it'd be interesting. Well, just like a Pluto-Saturn cycle,
Yeah.
speaking of,
Even.
because
Yeah, exactly.
just
Yeah.
that is a
Yeah.
way of
30,
of
what
of
is that,
tracking it.
34 years, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that, 36 maybe, something in that
36
ballpark.
probably, yeah, that's probably closer, yeah. Yeah, I hope I'm around to look back on that and go, "Ooh, boy." those silly monkeys.
Here, I'm gonna take this one from Aaron, and then
All
I will
right,
go because my
let's
eyes
do
have
it.
been hot and
Yeah.
heavy. So he's asking about if we saw what happened with the cold card hack via Bitcoin,
Okay, I did
which
not,
that
but I'm
was
sure Adam
before.
did.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So the timing of it for me was interesting as well. I went on a Bitcoin news podcast. It's called Bitcoin News last week, and it was that night, the hack.
Oh my
So
goodness.
like when I was like doing all my chores after I got off the call with him, I was listening like I do religiously to the TFTC guys. It's a Bitcoin show, and it was like breaking news,
What was
and
it?
they were just so essentially. Cold Card was a favored wallet for Bitcoiners. So Bitcoin only, nothing else lives on it. Very secure was the pitch. Very easy to set up multi-sig, all this kind of stuff. Like it's like the most
Like a
secure
cold
way of
storage
cold
wallet?
storage. Yeah, yeah, and it was a competitor to Ledger, Trezor,
Okay.
etcetera, but, like, just for Bitcoiners. Looks like an old calculator. I never went for it just because I always felt fine with my cold storage, but anyway.
Wow. So did people lose
So, there
their
was an
Bitcoin in
exploit.
this?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
Oh, yeah,
goodness, man.
millions. Yeah, we're talking I don't know what the current number is, but it's still coming out, and so what it was I don't wanna, like, lose people here on it, but essentially the way in which these wallets were random generating the private keys wasn't correct. It was 40 instead of 256 as far as, the roll of the dice and how the randomness works within your private keys,
So
and that's very,
somebody
very,
hacked
very
it?
important. Well, yeah, with AI. Because with 40, the randomness is such that you don't need that much compute to actually,
Oh,
guess the private key. And so, yeah, a bunch of wallets were compromised, lots of Bitcoin lost in the process. Very, very tragic.
so is Bitcoin crashing now?
And no, Bitcoin went up because of Mercury in the North Node.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Wow.
that time. It's that time when news like that has to come out at the bottom, you know?
Mm.
Like, I've been holding strong, like, the bottom's in, mainly because of my own understanding of the Bitcoin chart, but also GAN methods that I use.
Do
Like,
you
it's pretty
do
clear.
technical analysis, Adam? Do you analyze the price
Yeah,
chart? I do too, and I see like an
yeah,
ascending channel in there, and I when we hit the bottom of that ascending channel, I was like, "That's it. I'm just like going all in, and I'm just holding for a couple years, like, and I don't care what it
yeah,
does. Like, I was, and so far so good, man. I mean, it was a little early in terms of the 4-year cycle, but I mean that ascending channel that I saw, like it goes all the way back to like the 2018 top and extends,
oh, yeah, sure.
and I was like, that's so like it's such a and it's a grand narrative. I mean, that's what you're doing when you chart, you're creating a grand narrative basically. So
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
the truth, but that one looked so elegant to me. I was like, man, I trust my eyes, like I'm not going
good.
to listen to all the chatter. I'm trusting my eyes here. And so, yeah, I was in the same place. That's
Yeah.
wild.
Well, Gary, we bring up all the controversial things. I mean, I stumbled into Bitcoin being controversial without even knowing it 8 years ago. Like, once I started talking about it, the amount of shit that I've received for being a
Really? Just
Bitcoiner
for
is
being a Bitcoiner?
enormous.
Wow.
And, I mean, like, no one's shaking my conviction. Like, once you understand it and once you understand the problem, it's a no-brainer. And so, it's
Yeah.
usually the people that hate it so much, they have no idea about the
Right.
problem.
Right.
They don't understand the problem that it solves, and so we
Right.
don't need to get into it tonight,
Yeah.
but,
That would be an
it's
interesting
kinda like
dude.
being an astrologer.
Yeah, we should do
Well, just to
one
say,
sometime
like,
on the Bitcoin chart though. That'll be fun.
it'd be fun. I'd do
I
that.
did that with Erin. Do you know Erin, what's Red Wing? She's like a Bitcoin astrologer.
No.
Okay.
No, I don't.
She's like does a podcast with the Ordinals guy, Casey, can't remember his name. But anyway, no, that's definitely that chart. When I saw that chart, man, my eyes were like, I was like, okay, I don't know what the hell this is, and I thought it was bullshit, but now I'm converted, like, the astrology convinced me. If anything's gonna
Yeah.
convince me, it should be the astrology, and it did, so anyway, it's been great to
That's
see
true.
you again and rap with you, man, like old times. Talk about memory.
Indeed, I always learn. Yeah, yeah, bringing it back. No, I always learn a lot from you, Gary. I appreciate our
Yeah, man, me
conversations
too.
and
Absolutely, yeah.
touching
Love
on
you, bro.
controversial things with heart and understanding.
Hopefully, people can deal with it. If not, I guess they'll try to cancel me, I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, I don't know if you're cancelable,
Everybody's
but
cancelable, but I don't think I said anything cancelable tonight. So
neither of us did.
I'll just say, I'm human and maybe you can try to forgive me. Um,
Yeah.
and we're gonna take the high road from here, and who knows, maybe it's green candles now, eh, you think?
Green candles for Mercury, green candles for Bitcoin, green candles for the eclipses. I mean, I honestly, like, the truth of the matter is, like, I feel quite alive and connected, and a
Right,
lot of
me
it has
too.
to do with this impossible thing that's happening in the world right now, but, like, what it's doing to me is opening up something that has been, like, blocked and dormant for so long, and keeping up with it and trying to, in a way, like, sharpen the understanding and the tool of it all is remarkable, and, like, the main result is just me being more creative, which is
Mhm.
part of what I think is the purpose of being here, right? Is
You know
like
what
to
I'm
leave
saying?
the world more beautiful
Yeah.
than you came into it as, and so you have to be creative to do that,
Mhm.
and there's something happening around
That's
that, and
awesome.
perhaps it
Yeah,
is a
I feel
manifest.
exactly that, dude, you nailed that's exactly how I feel, like, I feel way more creative, way more plugged into something. I don't know what it is, I don't know where it's going, but I'm cool with it.
Nice. I love it. Well, I can't
Alright,
wait to read the book, Gary. It's gonna be
thanks,
good.
man. Yeah, I'm gonna get
Yeah.
one your way here as soon as we get hard copies. I still have to get my hard copy, like the, what do you call them, the galleys or the proofs or whatever, and then after that, I'm gonna start sending out review copies to people like you. So stay tuned.
Amazing.
We're almost to the finish
I will.
line. Alright, cool. Good to see
Thanks
you,
everybody for
everybody.
coming out.
Thanks for coming
It was
out,
my first
y'all.
live.
Appreciate you. We're gonna do this again for sure, right? Absolutely.
Yeah,
Alright.
I want to.
See y'all next
Yeah.
time.
Alright,
Thanks.
adios.
Adios. Bye-bye.